last one we got. This is breaking today. Your boy Georges St-Pierre is a free agent. Got out of his contract.
Jesus.
What does that mean?
Apparently, GSP's attorney has got some fucking stones on him and got the deal done.
That's all this stuff is. It's about who has the more powerful attorneys, and that's why the UFC is so big, because they have the best attorneys in the game. But it's Georges St-Pierre, and he has money and fame. Bellator will sign him like that. Biggest signing of all time.
Per Sean Al-Shadi's Twitter account, GSP says his lawyer terminated his contract after giving the UFC a deadline to fight on his old deal. Sounds like it's not a mutual decision. Make some comments about Dana not knowing what it's like to be a fighter. Says that it's completely illogical that this fight did not happen in Toronto because everybody would have won. Believes a deal could have been reached if Lorenzo was still there, but once the new owners came, all offers were off the table.
Correct.
And that it's up to guys like me, Conor McGregor, Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo, etc. to stand up for fighters' rights.
Correct.
So,
He's 100%
booyah,
right.
son. Georges St-Pierre, free agent.
Wow.
Telling you, man, tides are
is he now?
shifting.
How old is George?
George is, biggest free agent signing of all time. Bellator's going to throw the book at him.
They're going to throw the book at him.
They'll be their what? George
35.
He's 35.
35. A lot of fight left in him if he wants to keep fighting, but it's Georges St-Pierre. Shit. Top 3 most famous guys of all time out of the UFC.
Who would you like to see him fight, and would you like to see him fight at the UFC?
No idea. No, he's not going to fight in the UFC unless these new owners get their shit together. But we don't want him to sign with the UFC. This is good for the sport, man. Him signing with Bellator changes the tides a little bit. And with the UFC, with these new owners and Dana on the front cover of Men's Health, and it's a gimmick.
He's on the cover of Men's Health.
Men's Health or Men's Fitness, I think. Photoshopped like a motherfucker.
Photoshopped.
Anyways, but for Georges St-Pierre to go to Bellator would be good for the sport, the brand. It's not that I dislike the UFC. I just want what's best for the fighters. The other thing is Jose Aldo came out and said he met with Dana, and because remember, Jose's always said we need a union. Jose's retiring. He did a press conference going, yeah, Dana told me to back off on the union stuff and I'll make more money. Which is tough. You know what I'm saying?
That?
Yeah. Yeah. Jose was like, yeah, Dana told me, forget about the union. I'll make more money. He goes, if you do a union, all you guys can get paid the same. People are going to make money, but you're going to get a smaller piece of the pie. Jose's like, what? It's interesting, man.
Wow.
It's a good time in MMA right now. Tides are turning.
So is Jose Aldo,
Retired.
will not be, he's retired. He's not going to fight at all. Yeah.
Moving on. Damn, that's huge
That's
breaking
a bittersweet
news.
way to end.
Huge breaking news. Hey, great career. I'm not sad about it.
Great career.
It's good for him.
Yeah.
It's good to stop. Damn, that's huge. GSP getting out. But you think about it, there has to be some sort of language in the contract because guys like Shane, Georges St-Pierre, myself, and I'm not comparing myself to those two guys, but just we all had the similar contracts where that contract was framed and written before the Reebok deal and before this Fox deal. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so that has to void the contract somehow because when I signed this contract, you paid me this, and this, but I had a free market of sponsors. Well, now you want to continue to pay me this, but I can't have those sponsors. So that has to be their out. Mm-hmm. Has to be.
Well, on Al-Shadi's Twitter account, like I read off a minute ago, he said his lawyer terminated his contract after giving the UFC a deadline to fight on his old deal. So if I'm interpreting that correctly, it sounds like his old deal had if I'm to retire or be injured or laid off for a certain amount of time, whatever, you have X amount of time for me to have another fight, and then I can terminate my contract. That's how that sounds to me.
That's what it sounds, but also George is saying, I had Under Armour, I had this, and then now you want me to fight for this money for Reebok? That's not going to work. So they didn't come to agreement on that. Mm. And so by not coming to agreement on that and them not finding him in the amount of time, or framework, I should say, of the contract, that releases him from his contract.
I wonder if Reebok has gotten more of a black eye being part of this and why they wouldn't want to get out of the deal. Or maybe...
contractual. Their thing is, I'm sure it's a longer plan. They're like, don't worry, there's gonna be a little turmoil at first, but this ain't going away, man. Right. Unless they just decide to pay everyone more. But again, UFC selling to WME, who fighting's not their passion.
Right.
Entertainment, movies, TV, that's their passion. Of course, they're not going to understand a guy like GSP. You're letting a guy at GSP walk to the fucking other team. That's them not knowing the history of the UFC.
That's
GSP.
very true. That's a good
you know
point.
How big of a deal GSP.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking the face of Canada.
Yeah.
You're talking about one of the most famous fighters to ever grace this earth. He's going to play for the other team.
That's amazing.
That's nuts.
You just let your golden boy go.
I mean, yeah, he's older, but when you talk about a guy of that magnitude, and for how much money do you need? You're telling me you couldn't figure out some sort of contract to make it work where his Under Armour, you'd have to pay out his Under Armour deal for him to fight in Reebok? And you know what he would do for Reebok as far as kits and athletic gear?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It looks like ONE FC is kind of going after him.
Oh, don't do that, George. Don't.
Eric
do that.
Spicely, the guy who beat Thiago Santos a couple weeks ago, he tweeted that GSP told me the fight he's most interested outside of the UFC is Ben Askren.
That's just GSP's obsessed with wrestling and grappling. And, you know, he's a very high level wrestler. I get that. George, and I will text him after this. Do not listen. I love ONE FC and it's all great. Blah blah blah. You go to ONE FC, you disappear. As far as North America, Canada, you're gone.
Yeah.
Sign with ONE FC, see what happens to your career. You're gone.
Yeah.
You got to be.
Go to
Bellator.
Yeah.
They have the money. You're gonna get revenue of the TV deals. You're gonna movies, whatever you want to do, man.
So even if UFC stepped up and gave him like a crazy deal, you would say, "Don't go to."
I would sign with the UFC.
Don't
Don't get it twisted. Yeah,
there's one big
UFC's the
showing.
best in the world. They're the best in the world at what they do,
And the best fighters.
and the best fighters. If you want to be, if depends what you want to do.
Would he get a title shot right away?
Of course. Yeah. But with if the UFC came to an agreement and they're going to give you the necessary money that Under Armour is paying, you know, the sponsors you lose out on, and you can go back and fight for the title right away, you sign with the UFC.
Sure.
Don't ever get it twisted.
Yeah.
I know I can be a little negative on the UFC. There's only one real organization, it's the UFC, but they're not playing ball with GSP. So you go to Bellator.
And that's
what you do.
Really good point. They clearly don't know what they have.
No. It's just
they're not fans.
It's scary, man. Again, I have no skin in the game. I'm not on this ship anymore. I jumped that ship 2 years ago when I retired. I have nothing to do with the game. So, but as an outsider looking in and knowing some other details about the deal and people involved, they don't know what they're doing.
They just don't.
It's tough, man. I don't know how to say it. An example would be like if you have an actor. So it'd be like, all right, it's like Tom Hardy, you know what I'm saying, playing a fighter.
Right.
He's not a real fighter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But you have him now. He's the head of it. You know what I'm saying? Like he's an entertainer, man. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's steering that ship. That's crazy.
Right.
It's crazy. But then you got egos with Dana, who's like, no, we can't pay him that much money because then everyone else can want that money. It's GSP, man.
Yeah. He's generated a lot of income and a lot of interest.
I guess they're figuring he's 35. It's GSP, man. Now you have Rory. Think about Rory versus GSP.
Wow.
Over in Bellator. You got Rory, you got GSP, you have Chael over there now.
Ben Henderson.
It's good, man.
Yeah.
It's good.
You got some exciting fighters over there. You got some really athletic, exciting fighters. With
GSP's
not
a big
stringent drug testing.
GSP's a big one. I bet you Shane signs with him soon.
And the plot thickens.
That is breaking news, Ev.
Good stuff, Evan.